Councillors, if you don't mind taking your seat, please. I'd like to welcome you again. Sorry? Okay.
It's only very brief. It's just the meetings have to start at 11 o'clock. There may be other meetings on, but that should not be. We're 20 minutes behind and we haven't even started. That's not, I'm only saying, if the meeting is on at 11, it should be on at 11. There's other meetings on, maybe we should do something about starting at a different time.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we will get up and running. As I said, welcome everybody. And just a couple of things before we start. I was away, so I'd like to welcome Maura Healy-Rae and John, who will be replacing the other two candidates. I would also like to wish all the candidates who are running for the Shannon the very best. And I know it's a tough job trying to get around to meet as many people throughout the country, so I want to wish you all well. I would also like to welcome Kevin and James, who want to make a presentation on behalf of Cumann Iosaf. But before we start, because there has been a death in the Healy-Rae family, John wants to just say something for 30 seconds, and I think John Joe had the same. So we'll get that done and get it out. Now 30 seconds.
Chairman, it is an aunt of my wife's, and I'm sorry I must attend the funeral, but I want to thank you for giving me the chance to raise just a couple of small things. And I don't want to reply or nothing, but I wanted to look into them. First of all, Kinmayer and the C-frame study. Same situation in Kinmayer town last night, and I want to thank their engineer for having sandbags and stuff ready, but that was not going to do much for us. There's businesses that have them cost thousands. There's businesses waiting for the street trading. We need to take a serious look at these two issues in Kinmayer. The C-frame study has not taken into account from the town itself the tributary out to the bay. Can you imagine that? They've taken into account other works around the town. They've nothing taken into account from the town out to the bay. Lastly, I want to raise a thing on behalf of Mara about Cashel Island, flooded to the hilt again last night.
To give a presentation on behalf of Cumann Iosaf. So will we go ahead with that now? Yeah.
Hello, my name is James Jose. I'm working below in Cumann Iosaf. Probably some people know me, some people don't. A lot of people. Today, actually, I'm not looking for money, which is a very strange thing because I'm always begging for money. But I think you all got a copy of this chapter of independent living. It was sent out to 44 of you and to TDs and to the President and to the Bishop of Kerry. We got replies from some people, we didn't from others. All we want to do is to have a look at the elder people of this country and to give them the rights and make sure their rights I travel the countryside, and if I see an animal living in a bad condition, I'll make one phone call, and in half an hour that's taken care of. They're out, animal rights, brilliant thing. Human rights, I meet an elderly woman living in bad condition, or man, I make a phone call, nothing happens. A year after, nothing happens. 2 years after, through working and breaking people up, something happens. The next case, it took 3 years for something to happen. Now my last, and this is where I'm going to finish up, I made complaints and I got a letter back thanking me for my complaints. But the letter said, this person is blind, deaf, immobile and vulnerable, but that's the way she wants to live. The same woman, I'm delivering dinners for 8 years, and after getting that letter I got a phone call, don't bring no more dinners, because that's the way she wants to live. That's not the way it should be. If you see a person in that kind of condition, she shouldn't be left in that condition because she says, that's the way I want to live, or somebody else says it. It has to be changed. You have a law for animals that says they can't live in them conditions. You're actually brought to court if you let them live in them conditions. But an elderly person can be left in them, and I'm telling you from experience, it's all over the country. And that's all we're asking you to do, is look at the legislation and say, no, this can't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Kevin.
Chairman, councillors, thank you for the opportunity of addressing you. We hope that you've had the opportunity to read the correspondence which was sent to you detailing our proposal for a charter for independent living. Our organisation has 30 years' experience of direct interaction with old and vulnerable people, headed up by my colleague James. Our staff provide meals 7 days a week through our Meals on Wheels service, 52 weeks every year, and 5 days a week at our centre. In addition, we provide a range of services to facilitate people to live their lives with dignity and among their community. We also provide warm and secure accommodation for elderly citizens. This charter has one purpose, and that is to replace fear and uncertainty with prescribed rights. The right to a guaranteed income, the right to services based on need, the right to feel secure in your own home, and the capacity to call for help when needed. The entitlement to these rights has been hard-earned over decades through the contribution to the upkeep of this state, and these individuals and couples are entitled to no less. Government departments apply their discretion to entitlements on the basis of economic theoretical judgments. They are not answerable to constituents. They deal in numbers, and they compel those charged locally with the administration of services to operate within the economic parameters laid down. So to blame the messenger masks the consequence of policies that lack fairness and humanity. Such is the control that economic management exercises over essential services. When a public representative argues for Mary's home help hours to be increased, Johnny down the road may have his hours reduced. A never-ending circle of economic discretion, premised not on need but on numbers. You will know with regret that our society has changed from a time when you could leave your door open for a neighbour to call, to one of being locked in and needing alarms, if you have one. But who will respond to calls for help? Councillors, some may see old and vulnerable people from a distance as numbers, cost factors. For those who see them up close, they are human beings and in need of help. You as elected politicians have complained again and again in the representation you make for constituents that decisions governed by economic factors alone creates a society of haves and have-nots. Change the criteria. Let us have one set of laws that protects the entitlement of the innocent as well as the reckless. Law is man-made, and you as politicians have the power to change to a system in which you place people first and adjust the numbers to meet the needs of those who cry out for help. You in this chamber do not make law, but you as a collective can influence those who do. Councillors, our proposal should be seen as a catalyst for change, to offer protection to those in need against the vagaries of economic cycles that causes distress and hardship, however unintended. The basic essentials required to maintain old and vulnerable citizens are security in their homes, security of their income and security of their services. These basic but fundamental requirements determine the quality of life for thousands of our people. And if a quality of life is to have meaning, vulnerable citizens' rights must be placed on a par with all other rights. Could it be seriously argued that legal rights to a piece of land, or bricks or mortar, chattels if you prefer, are of more importance than basic human rights? Are the rights to protect pension pots worth millions for those who engage in reckless trading are of more importance than basic human needs necessary to sustain life? Change may require you to think and act outside the box, but you are the political representatives of the old and vulnerable in your community. They are your constituents, and to protect their interests, your positive intervention is called for now. It is the right thing to do, and we call on you as a collective to endorse and promote this charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. There are a few people have indicated to speak, and that's Norma, Donald and Sammy. Norma.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to thank James and Kevin for their presentation here this morning. Just as a public representative from the Tralee electoral area, I want to acknowledge the huge amount of work that is done by Cumann Iosaf on a daily basis. There's no such thing as a 9 to 5 with these people. It's a 24-hour service, day in, day out, weekends, you name it. It's an unparalleled service, and it's a service, if it could be replicated, not just throughout our county, but indeed throughout the country, we as a country would be so much better off. The people who work and, I suppose, bring to life the vision and the ethic and the idealism of this organisation. I want to commend them for the presentation this morning, in particular to be advocated for, and I want to commend them on that. You know, in the main, it seems like a very risk, which is security of home, security of services, security of income, fundamental basic human rights, and I think it behoves all of us here as a unit to endorse the presentation by Kevin this morning. And in fact, Kevin, I think your presentation should be copied through our offices here to all the local authorities around the country, and I would propose that we would do that. We would get a copy of the presentation, and it would be forwarded to all the local authorities with the endorsement of this local authority, and seeking the endorsement from all the other local authorities the length and breadth of this country. I commend you on the work that you are doing, on the vision that you have brought before us. We should be working hand in hand to support the work that is ongoing by them, and I think I would propose that we would formally endorse the presentation here this morning. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Norma. Councillor Donald Grady.
Thank you, Kerry. I'd just like to, I'd be very brief to say, thank you for the presentation from James and Kevin. It was very enlightening. With I'm not very well used to, I suppose, the wonderful work you're doing. I didn't read your chapters yet, I suppose, but I have no doubt I will in the very near future. I just wanted, say the Meals and Wheels for the people that you're doing it for. It's absolutely excellent. More with other things. We as a council are already doing, and I'll have to say, we look very special when we see dysfunctional families or when we see old people. We certainly help them in every way. If I ring up, we'll say it can be for housing, it can be for several different things. If I see there's no food in the house, maybe they don't know how to spend money, dysfunctional, I will take action. I've been doing it in the Killarney area. I do it in Christmas Day. I'm not saying goodbye, far from it, but they need it. They've no one there to do it on Christmas Day. And you're out there 364 or 5 days, there's a year. You see it every day. And I just want to say that as a council, we certainly have a good service. We can always make a good service better, and we should be doing that. And the elderly are absolutely vital. They have given their life to this country, to work in this country, and made this country what it is. They're the people that made Ireland what it is. And fair dues to all of you. You're doing great work, and I will help in every way I possibly can. I have been doing it. Council have been doing it, and we'll continue to do it. We'll even make that better. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sammy Locke.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I suppose I have to commend James and all his team for the work that they have been doing for many, many years in Cumann Iosaf. I know firsthand, I suppose, dealing with people on the streets and dealing with the elderly for many, many years myself. The first chance, I suppose, that we get when we notice people that are in need is that we can contact Cumann Iosaf immediately to look into these matters, and they're not found wanting. The charter that they have produced should be foremost, I suppose, in all our minds to produce it, and I suppose recommend it as Councillor Foley said, to issue a policy where we would go forward and produce a recommendation to our TDs in that sense, that we would highly recommend it to be brought to government level for this charter to be accepted. Our elderly, I suppose, have been forgotten about in government level for many, many years through our housing policy as well, that proper finance isn't addressed and put into the basic needs for housing for our elderly. I have no problem, I suppose, in recommending to our TDs that they would look at this charter in a positive way, so that it could be highlighted at government level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you for your presentation. Very informative. I got the document and I looked over. I think it's certainly worthwhile, and certainly something that should be disseminated to all councillors, to all local authorities for their input. Again, look, as you were here to the Tralee Municipal Area, the work you do is invaluable. The commitment you have is second to none, so I just want to wish you well, and myself and Graham, we're there to support you anytime you need us. It's no problem.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to commend and welcome both James and Kevin here this morning and commend them in their presentation, and just to acknowledge the amount of work that they're doing for people, for the elders in society in the county of Kerry. It is phenomenal, the work that they do. And I'd asked the questions, about the funding mechanism that funds their organisation. Is there any chance that we in council can find for them a mainstream type of funding? Because funding is a big issue for their organisation, and if we could find some little budget for them, it would be very, very welcome, I'm sure, because as I said to you, that I think everybody's office, every councillor here was onto that organisation over a period of time, and I think that the work has been outstanding from them that they've done for people who are so vulnerable in society. But the issue is funding, and if we could all work together to find some funding stream for them, even from council, to definitely be most welcome, I think. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Robert Beasley.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to pay tribute to James and Kevin in their presentation here this morning, and the realisation of the amount of work that is being done by voluntary organisations such as Cumann Iosaf, and we have to look at it. Where would the less well off and the poor and the people that are homeless interreligious in relation to the amount of people or throughout the county that that have been using the Meals on Wheels and other situations to be taken care of. If it hadn't been for those for Cumann Iosaf and other organisations like you, a lot of people would be in a much worse state than they already are. And I just want to pay tribute to you, and that anything that can be done, that that's the council are capable of doing, that we will certainly support it. But I want to commend you in your recommendations on what you have done, and that you will continue to do so, because this country needs you. Because a lot of people that you are looking after have been neglected by successive governments, and that will continue. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to get back, Councillor Norma Foley had a proposal, and it was seconded by Aoife. Just want to repeat that motion and get it right.
Yeah, I propose that a copy of the presentation would be forwarded by this local authority to all the local authorities throughout the country, and seeking their endorsement for this charter, rights-based charter for the elderly.
Thank you. That's seconded by Aoife Torrington. Finally, before we move, I just would like to say a few words myself, very briefly. And congratulations, and well done. Very great, very good presentation, very genuine, profound, really, if you think about the seriousness of it. And Kevin, you mentioned, what is more important than human dignity. And I think you put the point very well. What do you do when older people indicate to you, kind of go away, let me alone? All I would say there, councillors, is if it was my or your mother or father, would you say, sure, they're fine, they don't want to get any interference? However, I think if it was our mother and father, you would get around the situation and say, look, mom or dad, this is not good enough somewhere or other. So Kevin, I agree totally with that, and leaving people live in squalor maybe, or difficult situations, is not how human beings should treat one another. So again, Kevin and James, thank you very much for your presentation, and I agree totally with Councillor Foley that we should circulate it. Sorry, Councillor Aoife Torrington wants to say a couple of words.
Just come in briefly just to welcome you. I think the passion that you have behind what you're doing is very evident, and on a personal note, you've definitely invoked with it, in myself anyway, to go out in the community a bit more and do something a bit more for the elderly that I'm doing already. You probably know Ard Cuaram opened up or had its official launch in Listowel on Friday, which is a great addition to Kerry as a centre for the elderly. But I'd like to congratulate you definitely on the work that you're doing. I definitely support what Norma said to send around your presentation. It can't but invoke a reaction from the words that you've said, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Is anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Right, councillors, we get on with the